Let you introduce yourself.
From our studios here
At number 11.
Number 11, Tete Loop. This is Eyewitness News with me, Shamima Muslim, here with Umar Sanda Amadou.
You and Martin are saying,
yes.
People miss you. People miss you. And since we shared the artwork that you were coming on, people were excited. I mean, you had, there were two female voices on media that I used to listen to when I was growing up.
Yes.
Yourself and Matilda Santi.
Yes.
PSC voice. Powerful questions.
Indeed.
And I came to produce you. I'm happy to be sitting here to interview today.
It was great moments then. Very, very exciting chapter in my life.
I know.
And I owe a debt of gratitude to this platform. It did elevate me across the length and breadth of this country and even beyond our borders. And I think that I am largely what I am today because of my time here at City FM and Metro Television. So greetings to all my fans out there. Thank you for the years of support and encouragement and love. And I'm hoping that in this new chapter that I am evolving into, the same love, the same support, the same encouragement, the same feedback, that helped me to grow in the media is what you would support me with in this new journey. So thank you for having me, Sanda.
Thank you too for joining us and for agreeing to have this conversation with us. So we used to hear your voice on the radio asking all the questions of the duty bearers.
Yes.
And they first of all become politicians before they become duty bearers. You have decided to abandon media for politics. Why?
Well, before I answer your question, let me just say congratulations. Affirmative Action Bill has been passed today.
Really? After
yes.
2 decades?
After 2 or more even, isn't it? So finally, we have an Affirmative Action Bill. It is no longer Equality Bill. I think that there have been a few amendments. So it's the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Bill. So yes, in the coming days, we would we will get the final bill that was passed, and then we'll begin the public education yet again on what to expect. But basically, it's a recognition.
So for those who do not know, when you left media, mainstream media, you went into gender activism development
and media development.
So Alliance of Media, Women in Media,
yes.
You were pushing that agenda a lot. So that's why this one, I believe you've been doing a lot.
I'm excited about it. Alma is a member of the coalition, the Affirmative Action Coalition. So we did a lot of development work. But that's my background. I actually worked with Legal Resources Center. I was a director of research and advocacy at the time before I came into the media in 2008.
Go to law school and go and start helping.
I know. I should have been. I worked with Raymond I should have been a lawyer by now. But the cases, when I learned, they don't stick in my head. I did 1 year of law school.
And you ran away.
I got pregnant and I gave birth and I didn't go again. That was my last girl.
Usman is the one.
No, it was not Usman. It was Hera. My last. She's 4 years now actually. So when I look, I said, you see, because of you. In fact, today my colleagues came to visit.
Degree. That's
my law degree.
Working in the house causing you stress.
So yes.
So back to the issue. Why abandon media development advocacy, which you've been doing so well, to go and do politics, which some people deem dirty?
So the logical next step for me in civic advocacy is political activism, because on the political space is where the decisions regarding the distribution of our resources, the prioritizations, that's really where the action takes place, right? On the political sphere. And my logic is, we can talk all we want. We've been doing advocacy work and specifically calling for increasing the numbers of women in our public life for decades. I grew up watching the likes of Angela Jamuna Boaje, the likes of, even there was a DV coalition that had political women who transitioned into politics. Nano Yelita, Betty, Mold Idrisu, Esla Usu. I think I was about 23 years old when I joined the DV coalition. That was a domestic violence coalition. I had just finished Legon. So I was the youngest in a group of all these activists, and you speak to them today and they are tired, they are sometimes disappointed at the lack of progress and transformation. There have been gains because in this same space of time we've broken a number of glass ceilings. So there are some results, as a result of the activism, but we've not seen transformation.
So it's one
yet.
thing pushing from the other side, another thing being here and being the guy to sign off on the thing so that it will come into that. So that's where you are now looking
the
at.
numbers would only increase if the numbers going into the space increases. So even as we are talking about affirmative action, there's got to be the women who are willing and able to put themselves up and through those spaces to occupy the public sector that we are saying we want the numbers to increase in, the public sector that we say we want the numbers to increase in. The only way to increase the numbers is to ensure that more women are actually coming into the political space. And there are women who are interested, but they are not winning elections because they are not having the adequate resources. And so an instrument of affirmative action would largely solve part of the problem, not all of the problem. And so my question is, who are the women that you keep asking to come into to take up politics? Last year, you know it because your wife also was part of this campaign to increase women's participation in local governance, right? After all the work we did, only 4.1% of women were elected into the district assembly. This is local level, where women are the primary users of local services and sometimes the primary providers. Our market, sanitation, our water situations, our refuse situations, food, women are at the heart of the local economy. And so if a district level election is held and nationally we have less than 5% of women representing, that is a big problem.
But we also do know that the population, if you were to divide it into two, women occupy the larger chunk. So what is the disconnect there? Why don't we have the same huge population turning out and producing more of its more women into the political space, into the decision-making space?
It's the systemic barriers to participation. There are barriers, and they are historic, they are structural, they are socio-cultural, they are financial.
So it doesn't even, so it looks normal, but it's not.
It's not.
So a lot of things behind the scenes.
Of course. I mean, just ask the females who participate in politics. Look at the cost of running a campaign today. And yet the women are not the top CEOs. They are not the managers, owners, and managers and owners of top businesses. So women don't own big business. They don't own big capital. And so half of the time when they have to participate in politics, they have to go and seek financing. And anywhere that a woman is going around to look for money in the hands of men, know that sexual harassment would rear its head up. So those are the real barriers that mitigate against women's effective participation in politics.
You decided to enter the room of politics. And in Ghana, you either go right or left.
Yes.
You stood at the doorway, and you've been at the doorway for decades, having engaged this policy. You've interviewed NDC people, you've interviewed MPP people. Why did you decide to go green instead of blue?
Well, let me say that when I was 20 years old, that's when I voted for the first time. I was in my first year at the University of Ghana, first or second year, I think. The first party I ever voted for was NDC and Evans Atta Mills. And largely at that time, my young mind was not really politically active. So I drew largely from my family dynamics because I did grow up in an NDC family. I grew up in 1992. I was 12 years old. It was a 1992 election. My father was involved. My uncles, now my in-law, Alhaji Idris Mahama, were at the forefront of politics. So I grew up in an NDC family, but eventually politics didn't become a very common place. So in Legon, I still did have those feelings towards NDC. I did that. I would also say that I have voted for the New Patriotic Party before.
Really?
Yes, I
what
have.
Period?
In the same year that there was a runoff.
2000
in 2000 in the 2000 election, there was a runoff.
Oh, you voted in 2000?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Yes. So young. What did you vote in
I'm old.
Oh.
That's what I'm telling you. I was 20 years in 2000.
Oh, wow.
I voted the first round for Mills. And in the second round, there was this clamoring for Yeri Sisemu
and Aliu Mahama.
And Kwesi Pratt. I always say that the Kwesi Pratt also joined that coalition for change. And I was influenced by his decision to go and vote for the NPP. So the second round, I did that.
Interesting.
So yes, I mean.
And then, but then in 2000, when Kufuor was president, you were in media. And then
I wasn't in media.
Oh, 2004.
2008 is when I came into the media.
Oh, not 2004.
Not 2004. 2008 was when I came into the media. At that time, I had already started some punditry work and at TV Africa, whilst I was still doing my development work with Legal Resources Center. So yes, I mean, when I did media, remember NDC they won the 2008 elections. Yeah. So coincidentally, my media work came at the same time that the NDC was in government.
So you were taking on the party you had a soft spot for more than you've taken on the MPP.
Exactly, because when MPP came into power, I was no longer behind the mic.
In 2017.
In 2017, I wasn't behind the mic.
And as of 2008, you had just joined the mic.
I had just joined.
So even if
nobody would say I gave the NDC a free pass.
Yes,
in fact, today, very, very tough. And I'm very proud about that because I have deep principles and I'm guided by some ethics and integrity. I wasn't going to use the power. I didn't get up every day and said I'm coming to execute an agenda against or for a party, even though there were moments, especially there were moments where there were real attacks. And I'll tell you the difference between a tolerant human being and an intolerant human being. You did say that we have experienced all of these political parties. There was a moment that I did a program and there was a major fight with an NDC representative. One of the people who told me to do my work was Madam Lordina Mahama.
Interesting.
In similar situations, I was criticized by members of the NPP. It led to even some opportunities I was supposed to be on as a result being taken away from me. These are stories I will tell later. So I'm saying that I have come face to face and personally with the nature and the conduct and the character of individuals within these two major political parties. So when it got to the time that I had to make a decision on which platform to be on,
was it easy?
It was easy. It was easy and I was out of the media. That's a very operative word. In the years that I was in the media, it was NDC. I left the media, NPP came into power, and I was out of the media doing my development work. And you've observed the train of that. I took a party card, the NDC card, only after I had left the media in the period of the NDC. So I am an official card-bearing member of the NDC.
At the time Akufo-Addo was president?
Yes, at the time he was president.
Now, was it because of families NDC, let me also join NDC, or you did a comparative analysis and decided, listen, I've done these two parties, I think this is the best one for me?
So, I mean, if you're an adult and you evolve and you have, a collective of experiences, you have to have a reflection on what your ideals are and which party aligns more with your foundational ideals. And for me, social democracy, even though we say that political ideology, the lines of political ideology have dimmed over the time, but blurry. But foundationally, that is the ideal of the party: a property-owning democracy and a social democratic society. If you look at where you and I come from, the families we have come from, but for opportunity, but for education, we will not be sitting here today. If I look back at Wa and see my sisters, my brothers, where the family if you were hungry and you went into a home, you would get food to eat, because however scarce a resource was, the philosophy would be to ensure that everybody in the family gets a bit of it.
Everybody gets some.
Everybody would. So fundamentally, I am not so aligned to a liberal democratic that is very capitalist driven, that is very property owning driven. Those are the reasons why we are seeing the kinds of profligacy that we are seeing today under the new patriotic government.
You've talked about blurry lines, and the lines are very blurry indeed. The argument has been made by the MPP folks that they have helped the masses even more than the NDC, which is supposed to be the mass party. So under Akufo, Metro Mass bus for school children, and Nana Akufo-Addo school feeding for everybody in your area where you come from. He's constructing dams for people to go and use for their farming and all of those things. I don't know. So they said that they have done more social intervention programs, and that's why you should consider them. And
the antecedents of the NPP that truncated Ghana's fast-track development when they started the 1966 coup, when Nkrumah was already on his way of transforming this country. They are the ones to be blamed for introducing this nation into an era of military interventions. In fact, people, and then this is not to justify military interventions. If you come to the PNDC, NDC era, His Excellency, the late Jerry John Rawlings, is actually the most stabilizing force in Ghana's history. Because after that PNDC era, which transitioned into a democracy, the Fourth Republic, we are still in that Fourth Republic. There were incursions, but a stability was ensured as a result of that era. It is the same PNDC, NDC that saw the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution. The foundation of all social policies are in that 1992 Constitution. The NPP sat out of that 1992 elections, as you know. They sat out of the development conversations of that elections. Everything that is the basis of our education, the basis of our health, the basis of our social services and protection draws from the 1992 Constitution. It is that Constitution that said that we are going to implement a free compulsory universal education. From that Constitution, a Get Fund program. What the most transformative policy we have had for our educational sector is the Get Fund program. So when MPP quickly always comes in, and MPP is the one that has given the tone, because remember, PNDC, NDC were the same family stock. Mm-hmm. It was the NPP that wanted power. So they are the ones who have actually introduced the tonality to our politics. The tonality that says, damn everything that your opponent has done, because when you wanted power, because NDC was in power for a long time before you came to demand, power from the people. And the tone of their campaign is what sets the tone, where every political party during election must condemn everything that their opponent does, because that is exactly what the New Patriotic did in the time of Jerry John Rawlings in the first 8 years of the democracy. So you cannot want to be rewarded or acknowledged for things you do when you fail to acknowledge the foundations on which you built upon.
Let's come to today. Nana Akufo-Addo has been president 7 years, going into his 8th year. We've seen John Mahama be president for 4 years, been vice president for another 4 years. Why should we go back to the John Mahama that Ghanaians rejected by 1 million votes in 2016? What has changed in that John Mahama for which reason Ghanaians should look at him again?
In fact, it is what hasn't changed, which is the reason why Ghanaians must give him a renewed mandate. Because the character of a man, when somebody shows you who they are, you believe them. The character of the man that we hadn't changed. But the propaganda against him was very severe. So no, John Mahama hasn't changed. He is still the trusted leader He's still the honest leader He is still the experienced pair of hands that In that 4 years that you reference, you saw the development outcomes that we saw in this country, because people say that what can he come and do in 4 years? In the 4 years of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's administration, we saw a Terminal 3 airport. In the 4 years of his administration, arguably one of the best airports in West Africa, we saw the Atuabo gas processing plant. $300 million is what that plant saves us annually. In the 4 years that he was in power, he managed to solve Dumso, a problem that kept him up at night, a problem that some of us criticized what we said, the slow response. But he had a vision, and today I understand exactly what he's doing, because they tell us that, he made Ghanaians stay in darkness for 4 years. Did he solve the problem? Nana Akufo-Addo came to power telling us that he was going to change Ghana from a Gadgetsburg economy to what? An import-led one. Where are we today? We are back to a very distant hole. From the promised land, we have been taken back to the times of Pharaoh, where hardships is the order of the day. In the 8 years that they have had, they have not been able to achieve their goal of changing Ghana from a Gadgetsburg economy. They've not been able to achieve changing Ghana from taxation to production. In fact, they are taxing everybody to their graves. Unprecedented in this country, for the first time, that we are running a debt exchange program because of the intransigence of the current administration. They will listen to nobody, even when the signs were so clear. When neutrals, so-called neutrals, they call them so-called neutrals, but these same neutral voices, they advised you, they admonished you, they even threatened you sometimes that we were on a fast spiral to nowhere because of the nature of borrowing. Today, public debt stands as what? 742 billion cedis, 70.1% debt to GDP ratio. When this JM did 50.6%, after borrowing 44 million Ghana cedis, people had problems with it. And look at all that he did. We are speaking about the Bank of Ghana Hospital, which was done under the same 4 years of his administration. We are speaking about the Tamale International Airport, which allowed for old people not to make the perilous journey to Accra to be able to travel to Hajj. All these major infrastructural projects, the e-blocks, the educational interventions were done under the watch of John Dramani Mahama, under his watch. Yes, there were some infractions, even against journalists, which were acknowledged. There were challenges which were acknowledged. The character of a leader is tested in times of trials and their ability to accept responsibility. Nana Bawumia, especially Dr. Bawumia, refuses to accept any responsibility at all for the failings of this government. He rather removes himself, showing he's not a real team player, and blames everybody other than himself. The real reason why we were told he was chosen to be the economic messiah is the same reason he doesn't want to address these issues. So the honesty that JM presents, the trustworthiness that he presents, the integrity that he presents, that even Afrobarometer in comparison would say that Nana Akufo-Addo's government and himself has shown increasing high-handedness and stifling media freedoms and eroding accountability institutions. Not my words, Afrobarometer.
Well.
These are the words. Okay. These are the reasons why we cannot afford to give the NPP a mandate over a crisis that they have created. The hardships are untold, the corruption is stark, the nepotism is real. People within the party themselves are upset, disappointed. The moral voices feel so betrayed and yet fearful to speak out as a result of what is happening in this administration. A safer pair of hands is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He will come, he would rescue, he will reset, he will throw sunlight on the real state of our economy. But people should assess the real state of their personal economies, the state of their money, their investments, their savings, their borrowing, and even their incomes and their employment, the state of their health and access to health, of their education, the state of pensions. These are real. You cannot play propaganda with it. So when we say people should look within their personal economy and make a value decision, this is exactly what we are calling upon.
Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry, there's no time.
Fine, we'll do this again. And for those who are listening, they may think you are hosting Eyewitness. Shamima's voice of old is the same Shamima's voice. But she's today wearing red, black,
I am
green.
proudly JMNDC. And please come on board the change train. Please come on board the change train.
Thank you.
I hope, Sandra, that you'll be voting for John Dramani. Media men, we vote.
Let's talk
and we understand exactly what is happening. So please,
you change is eminent. Convince me behind
change is eminent. Come on board the change train. Okay. Let's reset this country. Thank you for your kind attention, all of you.
Thank you so much. Shamima Muslim there. She almost took over the show as a host.
There's no time, so I had to say what I had to say.
I had to say thank you. That's Shamima Muslim Al Hassan. Member, so you are deputy communications person for the Zongo caucus of NDC.
Yes,
deputy communication.
Deputy comms, yes. There's a directorate.
Okay, so, member of the national apology. I think on our artwork we made that mishap. Thank you so much for joining us, Shams.
Thank you.
Eyewitness News.